Hey guys, welcome to the Late Late Show. I'm your host Matt from Lakers UK. We've got an NBA Finals preview for you all today, and here joining me is Mr. Dan Healy. It's Miami Heat UK. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm on top of the world, Matt. Absolutely flying. Yes. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I mean, first of all, congrats on your page's success over the past year or so. You've been absolutely smashing it. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Yeah, not a bad year to start a fan page. Yeah, started it about April last year, so it's been a pretty turbulent sort of 16 months or so with what's happened all this year. But yeah, not a bad year to start it, exceeding expectations with the Heat massively. So yeah, it's been a good year.
Yeah, it always does a little bit better, I've found as well. When your team's winning as well.
A lot more
Um,
interest. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of bumps up the content. And I think over the past year, we've both seen huge growth. We've both been recognized by our respective franchises as well, which is absolutely huge. Unfortunately, COVID kind of spoiled that a little bit for you, didn't it? But I assume you're going to get out there whenever's possible next.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I can. Yeah, I mean, it was literally the week before I was supposed to be going out there and had some pretty special things lined up from some very generous things handed out to me by the organisation and some nice access and special areas and things. But that all got put to a halt because of COVID. So I will get out there, and obviously the page has grown again since obviously that all went. So a few more fingers in a few more pies. So when we're allowed and it's healthy and safe to do so, yeah, we'll be out there and putting out some good content.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to seeing that. So what we'll do is we'll kind of just go into a little bit of a preview of both teams, really. But obviously over here, we've been speaking about the Lakers nonstop. We know as much as we need to know at this point, but maybe people don't know about the Miami Heat, or maybe they haven't caught many games. So that's why you're here. So you're going to break it down from a Miami Heat standpoint, but I'm also going to ask your opinion on the Lakers as well. So it should be quite an interesting dynamic for people watching. No, we're not just going to slag each other back and forth. We're going to actually break it down. And one thing which when I was looking at the both teams last season, the Heat finished last season 10th in the East with a 39-42 record, and the Lakers finished 10th in the West with a 37-45 record. Wow. That's incredible. And now both teams are in the finals. The Heat have just beaten the Boston Celtics in 6 to join the Lakers, who beat the Denver Nuggets in 5 to battle it out for the NBA championship. That sounds good for both of us, doesn't it? What a turnaround.
Oh yeah, I mean, you sort of forget as well that yeah, we was both losing teams last year. We were a losing record basically, both finishing 10th. That's difficult to remember that with the success we've had. It has been quite incredible. I mean, I don't think you'll find many people that once that AD trade obviously went through that didn't automatically catapult the Lakers into contending status, because you absolutely did with that trade. Not so much with the Heat. Of course, we made the moves. We got rid of a lot of bad contracts. We got a leader in Jimmy Butler, but I don't think anybody, even in their biggest sort of homerisms way, had the Heat as getting through to the NBA Finals this year. But yeah, we all expected progress. That's what a star gives you in Jimmy Butler. But I didn't see this. So yeah, incredible to think that two non-playoff teams with losing records last year are going to be meeting up in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and why don't you take us through the playoffs briefly? Kind of take us through the journey that the Heat have had to endure to get to the finals in the bubble, and what has made them so effective along the way.
Yeah, it's been I think that once we seeded, we was always sort of the ambition at the beginning of the season was to try and get home court seeding, which of course in the end didn't mean anything anyway with what happened. But that was always the ambition, and we missed out on that just actually on the last game of the regular season, which was against Indiana. They beat us in that game, in which was a bit of a dead rubber non-event, which may mean that we ended seeding in number 5. So we was always going to meet the Pacers. We sort of knew that from quite a long way back, that it was going to be us playing them in that first round. I think at that stage, the only way that Heat fans would have found it as a disappointing season would have been if we would have fallen at that first hurdle. That would have, from whatever happened, as we've just covered there, saying that we was a non-playoff team last year, losing record, we was always going to be a playoff lock this year. I don't think you'll find anybody that wouldn't say that. But And we did exceed expectations with the record that we got and just the way we've been performing and the fact that our whole roster had just transformed sort of in the space of one off season. So there was always pluses. There was always a win, really, to look back on our season. But the only way that would have been sort of like negated in a way is if we would have gone out in the first round, and we absolutely dispatched the Pacers in the first round. There wasn't really I think there was one game that was relatively close. Apart from that sweep, I didn't see that as a sweep. I said they'd take a game or two off of us. It wasn't close really. It was pretty simple work. So once you then got through that and we met the Bucks, the number one team, what would have been a 70 win team season for them if COVID hadn't hit. This was where a lot of people with a sensible hat on would have said, look, we'll give them a series without a doubt. We'll cause them problems. We had a winning record against them anyway before things happened. We was already 2-0 up, I think, 2-0 up against them in the season, in the regular season. So we knew we would give them a game, but we just thought that with that playoff step up in intensity with Giannis and the rest of their guys, that this is probably where our run would end. But it just, once we went off to that 2-0 head start, I know they ended up pulling a game back after in game 4, but we was only one stop away from sweeping the Bucks. Yep. They ended up getting that stop and they ended up beating us in overtime. But it just came down to I think that when it got to that stage, that Bucks series, it all actually became about a mentality thing rather than an ability thing. They had better players. We had a better mentality. We played them off the court in 5 games. That series was incredible. And, coming on to the finals, Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, that was a much tougher matchup. But again, we showed that, the Boston Celtics are always going to give you a tough game. There's no doubt about that. They are not going to lie down. Every single point against them is going to have to be earned. And it came to really the depth. I think that Celtics are very top heavy. They've got a very good starting team. But when you then start to go through the roster with the rest of their players, I think that's where Miami sort of come into their own a bit, because you can rely on guys that are coming in as your 7th, 8th and 9th man to still give you production and still give you minutes. And I think that's where it sort of tipped in the end. That was a tough series, but I think in 6, I think the right team went through. I think that there was a couple of close games there, but again, once we got that momentum going, it was always going to be in our favour, and we got it done.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic story, and you beat some absolutely solid teams along the way as well that many people didn't expect you to beat. And before we get into the Heat a little bit more, what are your thoughts on the Lakers this season and through the playoffs? A team that have changed so much as well since last season.
Yeah, I tipped the Lakers at the start of the season before a ball was bounced. I said, look, I know that the Clippers have probably got the deepest roster, but I thought that just those 2 players, no one else can boast that they've got 2 top 5 players in the NBA. And I know that, you have got to rely on your other guys to chip in. And don't get me wrong, you've got some very good role players as well, but you've got to respect star power, and nobody has star power like the LA Lakers have. And they are 2 guys that can just take over a game like that. And, LeBron with a new lease of life, he's got his partner in crime now with him. Anthony Davis, the best 2-way player in the league. Possibly Giannis might have something to say about that. But there's I just thought that the star power is too much for anybody to behold. So, you was always going to be a challenger. I haven't obviously seen a great deal live. I've caught up with things where I can, but you guys are rolling, and you haven't let your foot off the gas. You've strolled. The thing is with the West, doesn't matter who you play in the playoffs, you're going to get a tough game. You've gone through Portland, you went through Houston, I believe, was it second round?
Yeah.
And then obviously with the Nuggets, which should have been the Clippers, but they couldn't handle it. You've gone through it. You've got 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. You've steamrolled your way through it, and there's no sign that will let up. So been very impressed. You can't help but be impressed with what you've seen from LA.
Yeah, I think the chemistry in the roster has been really important. And I think even the likes of like Quinn Cook, Jared Dudley, they don't even play that much. They're both vital components for that chemistry. And I've spoken to Phil Handy and Mike Pemberley, the Lakers assistant coaches, and they've reiterated that behind the scenes as well. And, even like the likes of Taylor Horton Tucker, Kaycock, Kostas Hassan around the roster too, that have mainly been around the G League. It's just like a good balance.
Yeah.
And you were saying about Portland, Houston, and Denver. There's been a lot of adaptation through the playoffs. Portland, we went big. Houston, we went small. Denver, we decided to change up mid-series and go with Dwight starting. So there's been a lot of adaptation, and I think that is going to continue against the Heat as well. I think we're going to have to adapt in a bit of a different way. Again, it's going to be an interesting clash of styles because I think that they are polar opposites, both teams. So it is going to make for a good one. But we're going to get back to the Heat talk. The quote unquote team chemistry killer has led the Heat into the finals, a team that appears to be so committed to team ball. The narrative has changed a lot on Jimmy Butler, hasn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, first and foremost, I think that it's really been sort of a match made in heaven for Jimmy in Miami, because Jimmy's had this reputation as this locker room cancer, and he's a bad teammate, and he causes trouble, and he doesn't stand down to authority and all the rest of it. The bottom line is with Jimmy Butler is always he wants to do is win. Yeah. And if you are on the same side of him, if you are willing to sacrifice every single percent that you can leave out there, it doesn't matter. You will be his guy. If he sees that you've got more to offer, if you're not offering it on, even when it comes into practice, if he thinks you're working at, a 90% ratio, that is not good enough. So if you're on his side and you want to win like he wants to win, he's your guy. He wants you to work like dogs, and that's because that's how he is. Now with Miami, Dwayne left. He's jumped in to take the baton off of him. This is a team that needed a leader. He said that within 5 minutes of speaking to Pat Riley, he said, "Where do I sign?" Because he knew that his role was going to be that this team is going to be young players with a lot of potential, but that it was going to be his team. It was said, right, you lead this team to see what you can do. He saw what people like Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, etc. had in them, and he said, right, you get on my side, and we're gonna do something special here. And absolutely, it's come to fruition. He's led the team just impeccably by example. And there's a lot of other players on this team that deserve a lot of credit, but it's all under the stewardship and being marshalled by Captain Jimmy Butler. So he deserves a lot of credit at last, because he doesn't get that.
Yeah, definitely. And you did mention about him then. Why don't you talk to us about Bam Adebayo? He's averaging 18.5 points, 11.4 rebounds, 4.9 assists, and 1.2 steals so far in the playoffs. Very well-rounded skill set, very young as well. How much has his game stepped up this season, and how important will he be in the finals?
Wow. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, we was all very excited when Whiteside obviously got traded as part of the Jimmy trade, actually, because it was him going to Portland that allowed Myers Leonard to come in, all as part of this trade that brought Jimmy to South Beach. But when that trade happened, we was all excited because we realised that finally the leash was going to be, Bam was going to be unleashed. So in the minutes that we saw him behind Whiteside last year, everybody could see that this was going to be a special player, still a bit raw, but needed to be rounded. But the fact that he was going to start getting some regular minutes was exciting to the Heat fans. Even saying that, nobody expected this leap. I mean, everything you want in an athletic big in the modern NBA, somebody who can move like a guard, who can defend 1 through 5, who's agile, who's got quick hands, who can facilitate, who can score, is basically a jump shot or a 3-point shot away from being the best center in the NBA already, which is scary. He's picked up is already an all-star, which again I didn't see that happening already. An all-star straight away in his first season as a starter. He picked up a skills challenge trophy in amongst that as well, which people forget. And as I said, since the playoffs have come in, those numbers that you've just said speak to themselves. So this is a guy that is still this is his first year as a starter. Now I know he's not a rookie; this is his third year in total. But the leap, there's no ceiling, in my opinion. I know I'm always gonna back my guy. Of course I am, because I watch him every week. I cannot speak highly enough. He's as I said, if he can get that shot, there's no ceiling for Bam. What a player!
Yeah, and what I'm going to quickly do now is, before we carry on, just going to quickly do little bit of a shout out, some things that need doing. To the guys watching, the Laker fans, we have released new merch. So this is the hoodie. We've also got t-shirts as well. T-shirts come in white, black, yellow, purple, obviously. Hoodies in black and purple. T-shirts at £18. Hoodies at £27. Go over on Twitter. Go over on our Twitter. Go and check them out. Also, as well, quickly get it in. If you want to win this, well, not this one, but the same thing, go over to our Instagram. It's for UK and EU followers. We're doing like a little bit of a competition. So yeah, if you want to win this, it's an absolutely fantastic piece of work by ASAP Creatives, which are some French illustrators that I met out here. You know you want to win that. So go and check it out. Go over on Instagram, enter that competition.
Awesome.
Well, what we'll do now is, aside from Butler and Adebayo that everyone is talking about, I've got a feeling that there's another name that's going to pop up here. Who has stood out for the Heat aside from them two? I mean, there's a whole host of names, but I think there's one that is going to pop up.
Well, I mean, there's two or three, but the man that is, again, catching everybody, everyone's standing up and taking notice because of just how exciting he is of course Tyler Herro, the bucket. Yep. Tyler Herro. I mean, remember, this guy is a rookie. It's just incredible. I mean, he was drafted 14th. I think we drafted him 14th, 13th or 14th. Okay. When you look at that class, of course Zion, of course Ja Morant, but you would probably say that the next guy you would take if that was redrafted would be Tyler Herro, which speaks volumes. Again, just the guy just doesn't know, just does not know anything other than confidence. He just he's a walking bucket. He lives for the big moments. Mr. Fourth Quarter, we're calling him over here. Absolutely huge balls he's got. He just does not feel pressure. He is wired different to anybody else. Just wants the ball, wants to take on the big moments. But it's been incredible that one criticism, and it was a fair criticism for this Miami Heat team when we came into the bubble, is obviously when we started bubble life, we knew that playoffs were happening. It wasn't a problem. It's just where we was going to seed. The one thing that people were saying will hinder Miami is they've got a lot of young players that have never experienced NBA playoffs. Have they got that step up in intensity? And Tyler Herro has just ticked every single box. He has got better than what he already was. And it's been incredible since we have come back after the long layoff to see his game improve anyway. We always knew he had a shot. He was a sniper. We knew that. But his defense has got much better. He's driving to the basket now. He's getting layups, but he's making shots. You don't see him not make the shots. Like, it's all very well having the confidence to take them on, but when you're backing it up with bucket after bucket, that's big. That's big. So he has got bums out of seats on many occasions. So, and as I said, it's crazy to think that he's still in his rookie year. Another person that you can see no ceiling for. Is just it's where he gets his game about now, because he'll always be known as sort of that specialist. It's whether we can find whether we can make him become this big all-round player, because his skill set, his basketball IQ is off the charts already. So very exciting player.
Yeah, and someone that I do want to get onto is how impactful is Andre Iguodala at the age of 36? As we all know, he's had some history with LeBron. Do you think he still has it in him?
Well, Iggy's been since he's come over, he's been hit and miss, because he was obviously, when he came as part of that trade, everybody immediately focused on Iguodala because we got some defense and obviously a big name. So we was excited, but it's actually been Jay Crowder who's been the better acquisition as part of that trade. He's been absolutely incredible. And I've said on my podcast that I actually think that the acquisition of Jay Crowder has turned us into sort of contending hopefuls to genuine title contenders. And it's proved to be the case because he's been brilliant. But Iggy has been sort of, as I said, a bit hot and cold, but by far his best game, without a doubt, was that last game, that game 6 against Celtics, not only at the defensive end, which you'd expect, but he went 5 for 5 from downtown as well, which was incredible. Wow. So it shows that he's still got that in him. But no, don't get me wrong, look, Iggy, 37, I think he is years old, 36, 37. You know, you've got to have your limitations and your expectations lowered by what you think he was from when he was in his prime days. But don't get me wrong, this is a guy that is still a handful on the defensive end, and something that is absolutely crucial for Miami, because we are not blessed with a huge amount of defensive presence. We've got a lot of shooters, we've got a lot of good players, but Iggy is needed on that defensive end, and he'll have a big part of this series, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously you speak about that defensive end, and then obviously there is LeBron and AD to, I wouldn't say deal with, because I'm not sure you do deal with them. You try and contain them best you can. Well, who do the Heat match up with them on the defensive end? Is there like a few players that you think will switch over to each of them throughout the series?
Yeah, I think it will be quite a switchy series. As you just said there, you don't stop them, you contain them as best you can. So we'll try and pack the paint. We'll throw Crowder, Butler, Iguodala, Derrick Jones. I'm expecting to get some minutes as well. They'll all come in to give us a bit of length and give us some agility, of course, with Bam Adebayo as well, of course. So we have got tools to deal with, well, not deal with them, but to try and contain them. A bit like we did with Giannis, same thing. Giannis, you're not going to stop him. You're only going to try and contain. And we did a good job, even in the regular season. We did a good job because we had those tools to be able to pack the paint and build the wall. The problem is now you've got two of them with AD and LeBron. So that's going to be tough. Obviously, the game plan will be to try and pack the paint and stop that happening as much as you can, and try and get you to shoot, because you're an okay shooting team. Miami are an elite shooting team. So that's where we're going to try and win this series, I believe. Because otherwise, as I said, if LeBron comes at you in the paint, as with AD, game over.
Yeah, I think you alluded to it then. I think it is going to be a battle of role players. I think there's a lot of eyes on Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, LeBron and AD. But I think, it's whether the likes of, will Danny Green step up, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Caruso, Kuzma, Markieff Morris, Hero, Dragic, Robinson, etc. Like, I think they're going to battle against each other, and I think it's going to be guaranteed points from LeBron and AD, and Butler and Bam are going to do what they're going to do. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's who shines in not necessarily that second unit, but aside from the stars. And I think you guys have had a very short rotation from what I've seen. The Lakers have been running quite deep. And one thing I've liked about the Lakers is when one player isn't performing, another player steps up. And when that player isn't performing, another player steps up. Yeah. But I think there is going to be a way of well-rounded effort in this one. I think Danny Green has struggled a lot throughout the playoffs, except for the last game 5 against the Nuggets. I think he is going to have to step up. But yeah, I mean, aside from LeBron and AD, are there any players on the Lakers that you're particularly impressed with, or you particularly see as a threat?
Well, as you just said, there are threats all around. Of course, there is. I think that Rondo has been good. I think he's going to be a problem. Danny Green is one of them players that if he gets on, if he gets a hot hand, then that's a problem. One of the best shooters in the league when he's on fire. Yeah, you're one of those teams, as I said, that have got lots of handy, solid NBA players. Caruso, Kuz, Caldwell-Pope. As I said, you've got lots of very useful players, which is why it's always going to be a tough series, which is why you've got to where you are, because it's not, of course you've got your two superstars, and they are, as I said, two of the best that you could ask for in the league and work so well together. But yeah, a bit like our game against the Celtics, you're such a good, strong defensive outfit like the Celtics were. But we managed to get through that. We managed to, we put up 120 something points in the last game against the Celtics, and it all comes down to the fact that Miami is such a high percentage shooting team that if they can go down, then we'll cause problems. Where we got the 2 losses against the Celtics is because we wasn't shooting anywhere near our season average. So we were shooting like 19% in like game 5, game 4. So you take those buckets, those 3 points out. It's going to be an issue. So if we can light up the 3-point board as we can do, and we've shown we've got many tools that can do that. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic, they can all shoot threes very well. It's going to come down to, I think, that really. I think that we didn't see much of as a rotation in terms of the Celtics series. We did in the first 2 series. We was playing 9 and 10 men against the Celtics. We shortened it right up to really 7 or 8. and even the eighth man was only a handful of minutes, so it really did shorten up. But I think that it might expand out again. I think we will see a lot more, as I said, of people like Derek Jones, maybe Kelly Olynyk as well will get some more minutes. So, but as I said, this series I think will be decided on shooting. If we can contain your what is such a huge threat in your paint scoring, and we can get you to shoot, then I think we'll see that as a win for Miami. That'll be that's the only real chance we've got to take in this championship, is if we can do a job with you in the paint and rely on your shooting as against ours, which is obviously one of the best in the league.
Yeah, and obviously you were speaking about Rondo then. Funny statistic with Rondo, he's actually been our best shooter. He's actually shooting like 44%.
He's been good. He's
from
been
the
really
field.
good.
Yeah. So is Markieff. I think Markieff Morris, he's shooting like 42% from 3-point. I think Dwight Howard will be important in this series. I think he will be put on Bam a lot. I think we're going to see them bang against each other throughout the series, which is going to be very entertaining, especially with how physical and energetic Dwight is. And it's been a fantastic story to see him back in the NBA Finals after all of these years, in Orlando as well, which is actually quite funny. But I think for the Lakers, we know that LeBron and AD will be firing. So I think, like we said, I think it is a battle of the role players. I think KCP, Green, even Kuzma all have to convert when they get the looks. But I think we have to stay true to our game. I personally don't think that we need to get into a shooting battle with Miami. I think we need to move the ball, rotate, get sensible looks, utilize the paint, stand tall, be physical, dominate the boards. That's what's brought us so much success this season. So if we can try and do that, I think that's our recipe for success. Yeah. So as we round out this, what is the recipe of success for the Miami Heat to win this championship? What are the keys? I mean, you did mention packing the paint, but as you if you were going to round it up briefly, what are the keys for Miami to take that championship home?
I actually think that one of the key elements of this will come down to maybe coaching as well. I think that we've got Spo, who has spent a good few years coaching LeBron. So I think that there will be, as I said, we did an incredible job with the reigning MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if we managed to contain him, now the problem is with LA is there's two of you, but I think that Spo, he will have every single element to him in terms of how to contain the Lakers and how to contain LeBron especially. So that's something that shouldn't go unnoticed. So I think coaching will come into this quite, considerably. But as I said, you said, and I agree with everything you just said there about the role players. I think whoever's role players stand up tallest in this series could decide it, because let's have it right. The Lakers have got by far the two best players on the court. We've got two big players in terms of Bam and Jimmy that will give everything and will make every minute of that hard for you. So I'm not saying they're going to cancel each other out, because they won't, because your two are much more elite. But I agree with what you've just said. I think this is all going to come down to the role players, and if we can get you shooting as much more than you would do, I think that Miami will look at that as a win. If we can shoot, if we can hit our points, that's huge for us, because we are, as I said, one of the best shooting teams. It is our strength. It's our biggest strength. It all comes down to whether they go down, because where we've lost games, and we haven't lost many in this playoff, we've only lost 3 like you have. The games where we have lost, 2 out of those 3 games will become because we shot awfully. So if we can hit a hot hand, we can try and work to that game plan as well as we can, then we've got a chance. Now, Lakers are by far the favourites, as you should be. Heat are, I think, 5-1 outsiders, 4-1 outsiders. But we've got a chance. We've got a chance. We're going to give this a series where you've gone 4-1, 4-1, 4-1 so far. I'd be shocked if it's anything less than 6 games in this series either way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I can't wait for it. I've got I'm itching just at the thought of that game 1. I'm resting up whilst I can, so we can jump into. I mean, you're normally on East Coast time. You're kind of not fully West Coast with these tip-offs, but you're coming into our world now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't envy you guys. Wow, I mean, 3:30 tip-offs most time. That's a bit of a killer. But yeah, no, I'm as you say, Matt. I can't wait. Can't wait. I won't be sleeping much over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and just before you head off and we wrap this up, give us a little bit of a prediction. What's your prediction for the NBA Finals?
Okay, well, of course, I'm going to back my team, even though we're the outsiders. Of course, I've said it all the way through. I back my team, and I got a bit bullish in the Bucks prediction when everyone was writing us off, and I said, look, we've got a better coach there. We've got a nice blend of veteran presence, of young players with no, fear, showing confidence. Got a few snipers in there. We've got a proper leader. So I said, look, I like this blend, and I said at that point it was going to be the Heat in 6 against the Bucks. We ended up doing it in 5. It should have been a sweep. Now we went 4-0 against the Pacers. We went 4-1 against the Bucks. We went 4-2 against the Celtics. Ooh. So there's a bit of a trend. I'm going to say Heat in 7.
Oh, and that would be some contest as well. I've already said this on this podcast, but I'm saying Lakers in 6.
Seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, the Lakers probably are the overwhelming favourites. I personally haven't looked at the odds. I think when you get to the NBA Finals, it is all to play for. You've got 2 teams that are there, that are deservedly there. You've got 7 games, which could be a relatively quick 7 games to just absolutely race for that championship. So it's going to be a fascinating series. Just quickly before we head off, we've got a few comments in here. We've got a man deep here saying Lakers in 5. Quite a few people saying that. We've got Cole coming in here that says Lakers in 4. I think there's probably an element of troll into that. But yeah, they're just a few comments that we receive in here. So as we round this out now, I really do appreciate you jumping on. It's great to speak to you again, which we have done a few times now on ever since like probably over a year ago now.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah.
It's been one hell of a journey, and I would wish you good luck for the final, but good luck with Miami Heat moving forward. Miami Heat UK moving forward anyway, and
appreciate that. Yeah, I keep it's going to be a great series. Look, you're the favourites, deservedly so. Look, as much as I want to win, there wouldn't be anything. I wouldn't begrudge Lakers winning this year with what's happened and with Kobe, etc. It'll be a nice, fitting tribute. So if it isn't going to be Miami, I'm more than happy for it to be Lakers. So it's going to be a great series. Good luck to you, and keep doing really well with the page, mate, because you're absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really do appreciate that. For people watching that don't necessarily know where to find you, your social handle isn't really that hard, is it, to find? But do you want to give yourself a little bit of a shout out, let people know where they can find you? You've got a website as well, haven't you?
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm most responsive on Twitter, which is at the Miami Heat UK. We do have socials all the way through: Instagram, same handle, Facebook, YouTube channel is Miami Heat UK TV. Website is miamiheatuk.com. Regular articles going out on there. Podcast as well, which is something that I'm really proud of, is Heating Up the UK. So if anybody wants to tune into that, I know your main audience is Lakers related, but if you're just interested in UK content for Miami perspective, then tune into that, because it's always good fun. But as I said, I'm an unbiased fan, so I will always happy to chat hoops with any fan.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And what we'll do now is I'll round it up with my general chit chat. So thanks a lot for coming on. Really do appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And we'll probably speak soon. You never know, we might get you on after this series when kind of things have digested a little bit, to kind of do a little bit of a review. We'll just take it as it comes there.
Happy to.
Yeah. And I just want to quickly say a huge thanks to our Patreon members: Amandeep, Fardy, both Jonathans, Benjamin, Massimo, Cole, Adam, Phil, and Steve. Your support is much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting us whilst unlocking the full Lakers UK community plus perks, visit www.patreon.com/LA Lakers UK. As you can see at the bottom, there is a little scrolling bar that is advertising Manscaped. We're going to be doing a little bit more with them moving forward, but As you can see down there, you can get 20% off plus free shipping over at manscaped.com with the promo code LakersUK20. Go and head over there. You get some great products and you can support us as well. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to tell some of your Laker friends about it. You can find the Late Late Show on all major podcast platforms. Please follow, like, share where possible, and leave a review. Be sure to follow Lakers UK over on Twitter and Instagram under LA Lakers UK. Check out our website, lakersuk.com, and we'll catch you next time.